I am crossing my fingers. That was the box of $500 cameras that I ordered that just got delivered. So I've been anxiously awaiting this box to arrive. Let's jump right in and see what we got inside here. And we can figure out if they're working and then assign a value and see if we can get to a target of around $1,200 in value from this $500 buy. There are some great cameras in here. We've got DSLR cameras, mirrorless cameras, point and shoot cameras. Kind of runs the gamut. All right, camera number one. We have a Canon EOS 6D DSLR camera. And I've used this camera and sold it a fair amount over the last few years. It's a full frame DSLR camera that Canon released that was super popular with serious amateur photographers as well as professionals when it was originally released. When I started first really getting into DSLR photography, this was one of the first DSLR cameras that I used, was a 6D. And this camera uses the Canon LPE6 battery, and I happen to have one of those right here. I have a battery supply little station here that is set up for, I'm sure we've got some cameras with AA batteries, we've got an assortment of Sony batteries, Canon batteries. It looks to be physically in quite good shape. Oh, it does power on, that's great. So this is one of the main reasons why I bought this lot, was the Canon 6D. So I'm going to go ahead and put my Canon 24-105 lens on there. And, oh, it has a memory card. 4 gig memory card already in it. Let's go ahead and try taking a picture and see if this puppy works. Oh, nice. Nice and snappy. Autofocus is working good. And as you can see physically, it's in pretty good shape. A lot of times with these bodies, especially if they've been used a lot by professional photographers or someone using them almost daily, will have a ton of wear, especially on the bottom here from just being rubbed. You'll see often exposed areas right here. So this camera copy actually appears to be quite good. So this camera is in good working condition. The thing that I'm going to do real quick is go ahead and check the shutter count on this model. I believe Canon rated this to around 100,000 actuations on the shutter, but I've seen Canon EOS 6Ds up into the 200,000 to 300,000 pictures taken, which is kind of mind-boggling. But based on the condition of the body alone, I can't imagine it's going to be too high. So I'm going to go to the computer real quick and I'm going to check the shutter count. Got the shutter count on this EOS 6D body, and the shutter count is just about 34,000. So tons of life left in this body. And that actually helps the value out quite a bit, because a lot of the bodies that you see on sites like eBay are going to have shutter counts over 7,500K, up to 200, 300,000 like I was talking about. And at that point, you just never know when the shutter's going to go. So this camera with a fairly low shutter count in that 30,000 range, you're looking at a value of about $350 if you pair it with a charger, USB cable, and a memory card. That alone will make a big dent in that $500 purchase price. But again, everything in here is untested. So part of buying untested lots like this is you just don't know if it's going to work or not. So fortunately, this camera is working. If it wasn't working, it would still have value. In parts condition, it would have a value of probably 100 to 150 bucks. Don't often actually get a ton of full-frame DSLR cameras in lots that I buy, so it's kind of nice, change of pace, to get this old Canon EOS 6D here. All right. Let's move on to, looks like a small little point and shoot in this little case here. Oh. Aha! Memory card. Whoop! What do we got here? Oh, Canon Powershot SX280. And this is a longer range optical zoom, 20x optical zoom Canon Powershot model that is fairly popular. Canon, by and large, stopped making this style of camera. Their last model that they made, I believe, was like the Canon SX740, which is selling now in the used market for $300-400. There is some wear down at the bottom here, a little bit of metal exposed there from the body, but otherwise appears to be in decent condition. This uses Canon's NB6L battery, and I've got one of those right here. And I'll go ahead and pop in that 8 gig memory card that came in the case as well. And let's turn it on. Nice. I had hopes that it would work. Lens looks good. Most common issues I see with this model are LCD issues and lens glass scratches. Lens moves in and out good. A little bit noisy, but within normal operating range. Let's go ahead and try taking a picture real quick. Yep. And let's try taking one with a flash. Oh, yeah. A little flash gap pops up. Nice. Works. So I've sold a lot of the Canon Powershot SX280 over the years, and the value on this camera is going to be in the $125 range with accessories. So we are 2 for 2 so far. It's a great start. All right, next camera. Oh yeah, I remember seeing this in the pictures. This is a Sony DSC F717, which is a pretty unique Sony Cybershot camera. 5 megapixels, came out 15 years ago, I think. And this camera actually takes good pictures if it's working. My success rate on these style, like the Sony DSC F717, F808, not super high. This is the F717. Uses the Sony NP-FM50 battery, which goes in right here. Pretty unique camera, really. It was one of the first like articulating cameras. So if you were down low, you could actually adjust the angle of the lens by doing that. Very, very unique. They only kept that going for a couple models though. So I'm gonna put in a charged battery here and we'll see if it turns on. It does turn on. There's the menu. Flash pops up. No, we've got some sensor problems, it looks like. So you'll see that the screen is cut off there. And then when I actually angle it towards light, which you won't be able to see here, it creates a blue staticky picture. And whenever I take a picture, there we go. Yeah, it just looks like a fuzzy, kind of like a fuzzy VCR, if you remember the fuzzy VCR pictures. So there's something going on with the sensor on this camera, pretty common problem. So unfortunately, this guy's not going to have any value. In good working condition, if it's actually tested, the value on this camera is going to be about 50 or 60 bucks. So I'll put that in the 4 parts section. And if you're new here, this is actually my full-time job, is buying and selling used digital cameras. So it gives me the opportunity to use hundreds of different models, and I've become pretty familiar with them over the last 7 years of doing this. And fortunately, I have enough batteries to be able to test all this stuff. Oh yeah, I saw this one too. Nikon D3300 DSLR camera. And this was before the D3400 and D3500 that Nikon released when they were still making APS-C-sized DSLR cameras. Oh, power's on. Nice. This thing looks minty. It looks great. And use this little push-in dot here to extend the lens. So I'll go ahead and do that. And put it in auto mode, which is right there. Pop the flash. Nice. Wow, this thing is really, really in nice shape. So even though this camera was released like probably 8 years ago, it still has decent value, and I'm gonna go ahead and check the shutter count real quick. Okay, check the shutter count on this model, and the shutter count is 75. So whoever originally bought this literally only took 75 pictures with this camera. And if you look up the values on eBay, you'll see a wide variety of prices between like $175 and $350. And whenever I look at prices, I go by my spreadsheet of what I've actually sold in my sold history, as well as current sold prices on eBay, not just listed prices. So if you look at mint condition D3300s with super low shutter counts like this, the value on this is actually going to be around $275 on the D3300. So this is shaping up to be one of the best boxes that I've done in a really long time. Yeah, so just with those 3 working cameras, we're at a value of about $750 on our $500 investment. And of course you have to factor in all of the costs involved in actually selling the product, whether you were to sell it locally or sell it online, like most of my sales are online. on websites like eBay Marketplace. It is something that you have to factor in for sure, because they're going to take 10 to 12% of the price, and then you have to ship it, and then you have to pay for all the shipping materials, the bubble wrap, the tape. It all adds up, and that's why my target for this lot is over $1,200, because then I'll roughly double my money. All right, next camera. Nikon Coolpix S9100. This guy's got some wear, and it's got scratches and some dings around the corners. It uses Nikon's ENL12 battery. There is no battery in there. I think I've got one. Yeah, I've got an ENL12 there. These cameras often have problems. Power's on, and let's see if we can get it to work here. Lens moves out. Oh, ooh, that sounds gritty. So there's definitely probably from some of the dings and being dropped at some point, and it's rubbing against the mechanism as the lens moves in and out. When you get these longer range super zoom cameras like this, it's a pretty common problem. Gosh. So that this lens noise and little bit of resistance will definitely affect the value on this camera, unfortunately. I would still sell it. I would just make a note that the lens is a bit grating and does work, but the value, instead of being around $100 in the used market for a good condition camera, value on a Nikon Coolpix S9100 with some lens issues, you're looking at a value probably in the $35 to $40 range. Nikon Coolpix L830, this is a bridge camera, and if you've watched any of my videos before, you know I happen to have a thing for bridge cameras. These are the beefier cameras with the longer optical zoom ranges. It's cameras that I've used a lot and sold a lot of, so I'm pretty familiar with this model. Let's put some AA's in there. The tray has got a little bit of wear. What you'll see, as I've said a lot with AA battery trays, especially with ones that have 4 AA slots, they often have corrosion because people leave the batteries in there for years at a time because they forget they even have this camera. So, until I come along and buy it. Ooh, okay, so put it in, and first thing I immediately notice is we've got a chip here on the battery door, and the battery door is not closing the whole way. So that doesn't mean that the camera won't work, but it is going to affect things. Oh, it does power on. The lens moves out. Let's see how we set it to auto. So lens moves out fine. I'm actually kind of surprised because a lot of the times when you have that much separation in the battery door, the camera won't even power on. But it is. Let's go ahead and try taking a picture real quick. So the camera's actually functional. It does have a fair amount of wear, and it has that chip in the battery door. So the best way to kind of fix that would be, it's kind of a pain, but put in new batteries, apply a little bit of tape right here to make sure that the battery door closes. So if you bump it, it may accidentally open and the batteries could spill out. So that would make it at least usable for the time that the batteries are charged. And that will affect the value. In good working condition, the value on this camera all day long is about $100. But with the battery tray problem and the crack right there, I would probably sell this for in the $40 to $45 range for the Nikon Coolpix L830. All right, next camera. Another DSLR camera, but this is one of Canon's first DSLR cameras. It's the Canon DS6041, also known as the Canon EOS 300D in Europe. And this uses the Canon BP511 battery. I've sold a lot of this camera over the years. It's got a bit of a soft shutter with age. It's a 6 megapixel sensor. I often see quite a bit of problems with this camera in terms of the grip getting really worn and super sticky. Just like older Nikon DSLR cameras, just something to watch out for. This is actually worn off over time, so it's not sticky, which is nice. Let's see, there is a lens filter that looks like it's stuck on there, and it's bent. So I have actually a tool that I use that will go onto a stuck or broken filter, and you can kind of put it on there, crimp it down, and then twist. and you're able to get it off that way. There is some rust around here on the edges of the camera where the neck strap goes in. I guess that happens when you're looking at a camera that's almost 20 years old. So I have a BP511 here. Throw it in. Turn on the camera. Oh, power's on. This camera doesn't have live view, so you got to use that viewfinder to take pictures. And I think I can go ahead and try to take a picture here. Oh, focus works. Flash pops. Flash fires. A little soft, like I was saying, not surprising. A little bit soft. But this camera doesn't have a ton of value. Even with the lens and the body in working condition, you're looking at a value of this camera of, in its current condition, of about $50 with a charger and a USB cable. So not a ton of value in this, but definitely nostalgic. We've got another bridge camera, Kodak Pix Pro AZ251, which is a 25x optical zoom camera. You know, optically they're decent. It's nothing to write home about, but it gives you much better optical range than most, nearly any camera phone. Power's on. And let's see if we can take a picture with this. Let's do a little zoomy zoom. Zoomy zoom zoom. Take a picture. Yeah. Yeah, this guy's in decent shape. Value on this camera is not huge. These cameras were sold in mass, I believe, at Walmart, so they're actually pretty widely available. But the value's generally going to be in that $50 range for this camera with AA batteries. We've got, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cameras left. Ooh, let's do this one. Samsung NX series mirrorless camera, and this is the NX 2000. And this camera was released by Samsung probably around 2010, 2011. I've sold a lot of Samsung NX cameras over the years. They stopped producing the NX line in 2015. And as you can see, it's got the Samsung NX mount, and it is a mirrorless camera. It's got the Samsung 20-50 kit lens on it, which is an okay lens. There's some better lenses out there, and there's a zoom 50 to 200 millimeter lens that's pretty good. Let's see if this camera powers on. Does it have a battery? Yeah, it does have a battery. What? And let's turn it on and see if it works. Oh, well, hello. No card, yeah. It does power on. Barely has any juice left. Let's go ahead and try to take a picture real quick before it runs out of battery. Yep. Nice. Yeah, this is actually in quite good condition. It's a 20 megapixel sensor size. Kind of underrated cameras. I actually rather enjoy Samsung. They never really took off. They have some really popular models, don't get me wrong. They have this NX Mini, which is a tiny little mirrorless camera with just a couple lens options. You've got the Samsung NX300, the Samsung NX500, and then kind of the flagship model, which I used to own and takes some incredible photos, is the Samsung NX1. So this one is more of a budget-oriented Samsung mirrorless camera. Value on these is kind of ping-ponged around over the last few years, but it's a bit on the upswing. Value on the Samsung NX 2000 is going to be in the $150 to $175 range with a charger, memory card, and USB cable. All right. We've got 5 cameras left, and with that camera, it actually put us over $1,000 in projected value. So we are looking good to hit at least that $1,200 target with this box. Next camera, Canon Powershot SX260, and this is a longer range optical zoom camera that is the younger brother of that first camera we looked at, the Canon Powershot SX280. Uses the same battery too, the NB6L battery. And pop it in. And then put in the memory card as well. If you like videos like this, please give me a like on the video and subscribe for more camera content. Just a fraction of people that watch these videos are actually subscribers, and that really helps me know who's interested in the content. And if you have any questions or comments, leave a comment down below. I try to respond within a few hours to each of the comments that I get. If you have any questions or if you've used any of these cameras before, I'd love to get your feedback. Okay, let's go ahead and test the zoom. Oh, it's pretty smooth, so that looks good. And let's see. No, I think I might have gotten rid of the black spot. Yeah, I think it was just dust on the lens. Nice. Okay, and let's try taking a picture. Picture takes. It does have a bit of an orange tint to it. Oh, there is. Interesting. What I thought was dust inside the lens actually appears to be haze. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get this in the picture, in the video here. But inside of the lens glass, not on the outside, inside the lens glass between the element, you've got circles of haze. And that may be what's causing some refraction and light and making the picture distorted. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to sell this in good working condition. It's going to have to be sold for parts, and there's still a little bit of value here in the parts section. You'd be looking at a value on this camera of probably in the $30 range, because it does power on and take pictures. Just got the lens issue. I'm not qualified or have enough time to take it apart and try to fix it. As I've said in my other videos, I'm not super mechanically inclined. So unfortunately, we won't get full value out of this, but I will go ahead and assign a value of 30 bucks on this. All right, we've got 4 cameras left. Canon Powershot SD1300, and this is a little small point-and-shoot digital camera, 12 megapixels, quite popular. Been a number of YouTubers that have made videos about this, which unfortunately drives up price for sometimes short, sometimes long periods of time. You know, I've never been a actual gearhead, despite having used and sold tens of thousands of cameras over the last 10 years. It's more about the experience and actually taking the picture and the photographer than the actual camera itself. So I know I throw out a lot of different model numbers and names. I've just been doing this for so long that I know them. So this camera actually has quite a bit of value in comparison to what the value was just 4 or 5 years ago. The value on this camera is going to be in the $125 to $150 range. Because of the LCD scratches and a little bit of wear and a little bit of that lens noise, probably the lower end of that value. I would probably sell this for around $125. Canon PowerShot SD1300. And that camera put us over 1,200 bucks for this order. And we've hit our target, and now everything on top is just gravy. And we've got 3 cameras left. Ooh, Nikon Coolpix S9600, and this is 5 generations past the Nikon Coolpix S9100 silver that we were looking at before, and uses the same battery. This has a 22x optical zoom, that Nikon ENL12 battery there. This guy is in good shape. And value on these cameras has gone up quite a bit over the last 5 years, just like that Canon. Let's see if this battery's got any charge to it. Oh, yeah, power's on, lens looks good. So you can see that physically, a little bit of wear, but really cosmetically, it's in quite good shape. Let's go ahead and move the lens in and out. Really nice 22x optical zoom on this camera. Get the flash going. Flash is right here. Ooh, pops up real fast. Nice. Okay, delete. Value on the Nikon Coolpix S9600 in good working condition, like this one is going to be around $150. So that's a great one. Okay, 2 cameras left. We've got a Nikon Coolpix L840 bridge camera. And this is a 38x optical zoom. Very similar to the Nikon Coolpix B500. And this guy does happen to have some battery corrosion in the terminals. And normally, if it's light like this, you can still get the camera to power on and at least test it. So I'm going to get some AA batteries here and we will test and make sure this guy's working. You can use some light vinegar and a wire brush to clean off that to the level that you would like to, which I would go ahead and do after I test this, if it's working, assuming it's working. Hopefully it's working. Oh yeah, power's on. Lens moves out. That's what the menu looks like there. So let's go ahead and flip it to an auto mode and move the lens in and out. A little noisy, but that's common. We'll pop the flash and take a picture. You can do it! Yeah, okay. LCD is actually in pretty good shape. A lot of times LCDs on these older Nikons get pretty scratched up, but this guy's in good shape. There is also the side toggle zoom, so you've got two zoom options on this camera. Side and top. Sometimes the side doesn't work, so that's something you would want to test as well. But the value on the Nikon Coolpix L840 is going to be in the $100 to $120 price range in the used market in the United States. By my calculations with that camera, we are at $1,490 in projected value. $10 short of $1,500 on this $500 buy. Last camera is a Sony NEX 5T mirrorless camera. So we've got actually two mirrorless cameras, a full frame and a standard APS-C DSLR camera in this lot. Pretty unusual. A lot of variety. So this guy's got some wear to the LCD before I turn it on. So it's got the flip out hinge here. So I'll test that. It has this hot shoe flash, which is good. A lot of the times it's missing from the camera because it is removable. And this uses Sony's NP-FW50 battery, which I've got right here. Already has a memory card in it too. That'll make things a little bit easier. This lens isn't the kit lens that it came with either. The kit lens that it came with, I believe, is the Sony 18-55, if I'm not mistaken. It might have come with the power zoom, but definitely not in black. It would have been in silver. So this is the 16-50 power zoom lens, which is an okay lens. It does power on. Hello, 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 hello. Power's on, power's on. The neat thing about this camera is you're actually able to get shutter count off of it as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the shutter count and take my memory card over to my computer and then go to camerashuttercount.com and get the shutter count for this. So shutter count on this is actually pretty low, 2,500 shutter count. And I believe Sony rated these to around 75 to 100K. So still a lot of life potentially left on the shutter, which is excellent. And value on the Sony NEX 5T is going to be in the $150 range used with a memory card, charger, and USB cable. And that is our last camera, and with that camera, we just went just north of $1,600 in projected value in the used market of all of these cameras that we tested. We had a few that had some issues and didn't work, but fortunately the majority of the cameras did work, and this was a really fun lot to go through. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.